Hello, freaks and fire starters. My name is TB Skyn. Welcome back to the Patreon Q&A, well, Patreon and supporter Q&A podcast, which, it's been a while since I've done the last one, since things happened. I had a bit of a depressive period over the summer. Unfortunately, it kind of knocked me out for a while, a burnout, I think. But I'm back on it, and I've set up some new processes for collecting questions from supporters. So if you support me in any way, you should be able to get access to the Discord, and on the Discord, there is a specialized room specifically for asking me questions about things which you want to know. And we've got like 47 of them this time around, because they've been running for a little over a month, collecting them all up. So let's just get into it with the first one. Hitmonkey, do you have an interest in doing an analysis series, even shorts, of character and boss design for Final Fantasy XIV characters? Yes and no. I think there's definitely something there to talk about. I don't think I could do like a boss designs of Final Fantasy XIV series, really. Specifically because Dark Souls bosses, the reason why they're suited for that format is that FromSoft is very good at using the character design to tell a particular story, right? Like, they do put a lot of the world building and the narrative into them. Final Fantasy character design is a little bit of a different beast. It's much more about visual appeal and looking cool, and especially Final Fantasy XIV character design. I could probably do a boss designs of Final Fantasy as a whole, and talk about, like how the boss designs of that game have developed over time, like picking particular examples from each of the entries. That might be an idea, but in terms of Final Fantasy XIV on its own, I mean, shorts would probably, if I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be shorts. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely an option. I will say I haven't really been interested enough in any of the characters so far, except Hildebrand and his crew, to care enough to do shorts about them. Like, I don't think there's that much interesting to say about any of them in Realm Reborn yet. But, you know, they do say Heaven's Sword gets better, so here's hoping. Soch Key says, what are some of the foundational pieces of media you grew up with, and how did, if any, affect your future taste and sensibilities? There is a comic called Valhalla, which is a Danish comic by an artist called Peter Madsen, who basically illustrates and draws the myths of Norse mythology as best as we know them. Like, one thing I always point out anytime we talk about Norse mythology is we don't know most of Norse mythology. We don't. Like, we have no idea what most of Norse mythology is. What we have is a tiny little sample preserved by Christian monks hundreds of years after the actual Viking Age was happening in Iceland, which is a tiny slice of everything. But Peter Madsen does a fantastic job of illustrating those myths and sort of bringing them into a much more modern context, sort of placing the gods as, like, creating them much more as cartoon characters, essentially, like much more like children's media rather than, you know, the storytelling of bards and warriors around the campfire. And I really love them. Like, his art style is lush and like, he became so fucking good over the course of doing those comics. He started out pretty basic, and then as time went on, he just became an absolute god of comic art. Like, he's genuinely fantastic. His character design sensibilities are wonderful, like his designs for Loki and Odin and Thor, and like just the way that he designs these characters and gives them personality, absolutely wonderful. I love Valhalla a lot, and I really should do a video about it someday. Cyber is the third. Do you have to work part-time jobs sometimes besides YouTube nowadays? I mean, yes and no, kind of, technically. Because, like, YouTube is my full-time job at this point. Like, the Patreon and the sponsorships and the ad revenue is enough to, like, pay my rent and sort of keep me in a house and having the bills paid most of the time. But, like, it sort of, like, I've just completed work on a thing which is not for my own YouTube channel. It's for another thing that you'll find out about when or if it ever comes out. I'm gonna get paid either way, so I don't care. I do care. But, like, sometimes I do work for other people. Like, sometimes people will contact me and ask for, like, could you give me feedback on this character design? I'd say, yeah, sure. And I charge a little bit of money for that, and that brings in a little bit of extra. But no, I don't have to work any part-time jobs anymore. I make enough from this that I'm good, and I'm very grateful for that. Windhelm, so Elden Ring, yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, but I sigh because a lot of people ask for it, and that's, on the one hand, that's really wonderful. I'm really glad people are asking for it. On the other hand, I'm also, every time people ask, I feel a pang of guilt and kind of misery because I want to get back to it. I want to play Elden Ring so bad. You don't understand. I don't have the time to edit the series right now, and I have so much footage that I want to get through editing at least some of that before I start recording more of it, because otherwise I'm just going to have this huge pile of footage lying around that I can't do anything about, and that'll just stress me out and frustrate me and annoy me, and I also want the experience of playing the game to be a little bit fresh in my mind as I edit the episodes. I think I made a mistake early on in the series. Like, I played so much early on, like a lot, way more than I could do episodes for. And that was a mistake. Like, I think it is ultimately better for me to play the game, like, get to a place, beat a boss, do a reading, like, try and analyze them as best I can, and then move on. I think that's ultimately the better choice for me. Like, just in terms of how I deal with workflow, I'm not very good at having a big pile of footage that just needs to be edited into a thing. So I promise I'll get back to it when I can. I swear to God. It might not be until the new year, which is a thing that depresses me just to hear come out of my mouth, but it genuinely might, because I have other obligations that I need to deal with, because I need the money, quite frankly. Dog Woof Woof, what is your educational background, if it's not too private to answer? Right. Quite a lot, and not very much. My higher education, which I think is what you're asking for, is I have a university degree in English. It's a bachelor's degree. That's a 3-year degree. I have 99% of a bachelor's degree in history as well. I never actually turned in my bachelor's paper. I got hit by a really, really hard depression right around the time when I needed to turn that in. And so I have half of a finished bachelor history paper lying around somewhere on my PC. I would have passed. I'm completely confident in that, but that's easy to say when you never actually submit it. But no, that's all I have. People sometimes ask me if I have any formal training in art or analysis. Outside, an English degree gives you a lot of the sort of tools to do the kind of research that you need to do in order to analyze art as well. But no, I don't have any formal education in it. I'm not a formally educated expert. Variasus Frivolous French Fawn. I wondered if you were ever interested in making shorts videos about generally nice character designs across the media landscape, whatever its source. Yeah, I mean, yes, and again, this is where the realities of the job interfere with the personal desire. Because, yes, absolutely, I want to make shorts about all kinds of character designs. It's just that YouTube has identified my shorts channel as a channel that talks about League of Legends primarily, and it has only just now sort of started to accept that I also talk about Dark Souls and Pokemon on it now. And it seems amenable. The shorts I've done about One Piece character design have sort of they've been very slow at first because the algorithm doesn't know what the fuck the League of Legends guy is doing anime shit. I don't know what to do with. And so they have this really slow growth curve, and then at some point the algorithm figures out, oh no, wait, I should show this to anime fans, and then they go whoosh, they absolutely take off. So I might do some more anime things, One Piece shorts, the Genshin Impact shorts that I've done. And the stuff about Fate that came from Patreon requests, which I really need to get around doing those as well for this month. They've done okay, but I can definitely see that if I were to start regularly uploading variety content like that, I would take a serious algorithm hit for it. And it's sort of a thing of is that worth it? Because most of the people who are subscribed to that channel are subscribed for the content that I already make. So if I want to branch out, that has to be additional content on top of that. And that's a lot of production burden to put on myself if I wanted to. If I decide that I want to start to branch out, it can't just be, oh, I'll do 1 or 2 things here or there. I kind of want, just in terms of my job, I want it to be okay, I'm going to do a series. It's going to come out every 2 days, interspersed with League of Legends content and the other regular content, so the algorithm doesn't think I've completely changed genre, so that it keeps hold of the audience that's there already. As it's business shit, I hate talking about it, but it's part of my job. Leo the Grand, 2 questions. Since you have a TTRPG section on this server, do you play yourself? Did you ever think of making a D&D monster analysis or something in that regard? I do play myself, yes. I recently guested, actually, on Sir Superhero. He's a TikToker who does a lot of content around superheroes. He has like 1 million followers on there. It's amazing. He's really fucking good, too, so if you're on TikTok, seek him out. He has a D&D thing that he does with a bunch of other TikTokers, and I guested on it for a little one-shot that they did recently. I also have a regular group that I play with. We're not playing D&D. We're playing in a modified World of Darkness thing. I'm not 100% sure what our DM is doing with the rule set, but it's fun. D&D monster analysis, like, again, like, the rule I think we'll establish for these Q&A podcasts is if anyone ever asks me is, would you ever? The answer is almost certainly yes, I would. But it's a matter not so much of would as it is of could. Like, I have a lot of things that I want to do, and I need to prioritize them. So, like, if you ask me, would you ever? Yes, absolutely, I would ever. Will you actually? 2, you have a baffling range of skill. No, I don't. Drawing, speaking, writing, personality, singing. How did you get there being this varied in the arts and still very skillful in them? I think of myself as a jack of all trades. Right, so like I can play guitar, I can play ukulele, I can play the bass, I can play the piano, I can play a couple of flutes a little bit, I can sing, I can do public speaking, but in the same way that like I can ride a bike, right? But I can't necessarily ride in the Tour de France. If I got on a bike and rode the Tour de France, if I had enough time and I didn't die of a heart attack or something, I could probably finish it, but it would take, you know, months or years. Whereas, like, professional people on bikes who do that stuff for a living can do it, like, some hours on a hot summer's day or whatever. And that's kind of where I think of myself. I can ride a bike. I can do a whole bunch of things that I've sort of learned to do. Them kind of like I can play the guitar, but I'm not super great at it. I don't know any music theory. I can play the piano, sort of like I can sort of do a bass line in the left hand and chords in the right hand. That's sort of where I'm at as a person. And like because I am good at presenting myself, people often sort of take that as, oh my god, he's great at everything. No. I only show you the things that I do well. You don't get to see all the things I can't do. But as for how I got there, practice. Like I am a hyperactive maniac of a person when it comes to interests. And I'll pick up a thing and I'll get really intensely into it and I'll sort of learn to do it for a few months, and then I'll burn out on it and I won't really practice as much as I should. That's what's been happening with my piano. I've started taking piano lessons, actually, to sort of try and brush up on that a little bit and learn to play it properly rather than just the sort of fidgeting around that I've done. But basically just spending a lot of time doing it. It's the only way to get good at anything. Like, I have unlisted most of the very early videos on this channel, or on my main YouTube channel, but if you could go back and see them, and you can try and go back and see, like, some of the very earliest ones that are there, you'll notice that my delivery is very different. Like, my enunciation is very different. Like, I don't speak as well. I'm not as confident in my delivery. My script writing skills are terrible compared to what they are now. My editing is not nearly as good. It's just, if you want to learn something, I mean, it's a boring answer, but if you want to learn something, you have to practice. And that comes with difficulties. British Dread, which boss fight from any Souls game is your favorite, and which one do you think? Okay, another rule. Anytime you ask me for my favorite anything, you're gonna get an unsatisfying answer because I don't have favorites. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't. Like, if I think about the Souls bosses, it's like, what do you mean favorite? Like, favorite on what metric? Like the one that gave me like the most thrilling experience, because that's probably Ludwig the Holy Blade from Bloodborne, just because I was fighting him at a level that was too low, and when I finally got him, that was one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. Like in a video game, anyway. I've had feelings about other stuff. But in terms of if we're talking about like in terms of what has the most immediate visual impact on me, or which one like makes me think the most, or which one has stuck with me the most, or like, it's like, what's the criteria for favorite? I don't know what you mean by favorite. I like a lot of them for many different reasons, and that's the rule also for any future questions where you ask me for my favorite. That's the kind of answer you're gonna get, some sort of unsatisfying mumble, because I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know. I'm sorry. Who in League of Legends would be the best friend, asks Liv, and that would be Braum, obviously. Braum would be best friend. Played Max, are there any Guilty Gear characters whose design have caught your attention? If yes, who and why? I don't know if he's a Guilty Gear character. I'm not sure. Faust. Dr. Faust, like the dude with the paper bag on his head. I like him. I know he's an Arc Sys character. I'm not 100% sure if he's Guilty Gear, or if it's BlazBlue, or one of the other ones. Like, you might expect me to say Bridget. I don't actually think Bridget's design is that interesting. Like, it's sort of a very, like, it used to be Bridget was sort of an anime femboy kind of situation, right? Like, she was the boy whomst look like a girl and gets upset when people don't think that she's manly. And now she has sort of, like, gone further in her gender journey and realized that she's trans, but I don't think her design is actually that interesting. Like, it's sort of like, many Guilty Gear character designs are kind of just tropey, in the same way that League of Legends designs tend to be tropey, and so it's like, of the ones I've seen, Gold Lewis I think is pretty cool, but of the ones I've seen, most of them are sort of like Kai Kisuke is like, oh no, yeah, it's like steely Ice King anime pretty boy, and Soul Bad Guy is passionate, loud, shouty man. Yes, no, I have seen these characters many times before, and I don't find them super compelling on their own. Azeli, over the franchise, what's your favorite final? Yeah, okay, favorites again. Yeah, no, sorry. Favorite? I don't know. I really like Onion Knights, just because of their design is so cutesy and silly. Yeah, I don't like Berserkers very much. Like, they only showed up in like Final Fantasy V's job system, maybe 3 as well. Mimics are cool. I like mimics in Final Fantasies 5 a lot. No, not 5. I like the mimic in Final Fantasy 6. I like Gogo. But I also like the mimic, like the character that you learn the mimic job from in Final Fantasy 5 is also Gogo. He was almost a recurring character in the series. I like those character designs. But yeah, if you're asking me for favorites, I'm sorry, you're not gonna get a satisfying answer. Farley, what has been the most unexpected outcome of being a content creator for you? Are you talking positive or negative? Because one of the answers is depressing. Guess which one? Like, the positive outcome that's been unexpected is that I am financially stable. Like, you may know this, but like, my early career as a content creator was I made a webcomic. Like, I made comics, I did illustrations, I did art. I was a commission artist. And that was sort of where I was at, and I thought that that was going to be my career, and one of the things about that is no financial stability whatsoever. Constant work, no financial stability. I spent several years of my life always at the end of the month crunching to make enough money to make the rent. Which turns out not sustainable, bad for your mental health. You can have a really bad depression if you do that. I found out. So financial stability from being a YouTuber is a thing that's like, what the fuck? What? How am I making enough ad revenue to pay my rent? How is that a thing that is happening? I don't understand that. I don't get it. I don't understand how so many people support me on Patreon. I don't, like, a part of me will never really accept that, I don't think. Because that is weird and feels surreal and like some kind of imaginary scenario that I'm making up. It feels a little bit like I am lying in a ditch somewhere, slowly dying because I'm homeless and I couldn't pay my rent and I'm like dying of exposure. And this is like the glorious dying fantasy that my brain is conjuring to soothe me as life leaves my body. That feeling is with me all the time a little bit. So that's the positive outcome, is financial stability, and I'm not dying in a ditch, hopefully. I hope so. I hope you're all real. That's good. The negative unexpected outcome is the depersonalization that comes with it, like the dehumanization. When you grow an audience to a certain size, and it doesn't really matter who you are, it has nothing to do with you as a person, really. It's a social dynamic that emerges from the way that social media is constructed. You cease to be a person to people. To one extent or another, you cease to be an actual person, and you start becoming a symbol or a character or an object to be commented upon. And like, if you follow me on Twitter over the last few days, you might have noticed that that's a thing that kind of made me snap a little bit recently, is some people who, to the best of my knowledge, I've never actually fucking interacted with them. Like, I don't know, maybe I exchanged tweets with them at some point. Outside of blocking one of them and all of their followers, because I didn't want to fucking deal with them. But they were having a charming little conversation about how I am a racist, misogynist, homophobe, who hates people of color and all gay people, and also that I'm faking being queer, or that I'm being queer for attention, or like that I'm pretending to be asexual to make money somehow. Like, they were having that lovely conversation, and that was a joy to discover. And I mean, from behind my locked account, basically said, no, fuck you, go fuck yourselves, and I'm gonna block you and all of your followers. And they had themselves a nice little circle jerk about how cool it is that they have been blocked by me. And like, I hope that was a nice, oily little mutual hand job that they got to give each other. But that's the unexpected negative outcome. Like, I never thought I'd get big enough to have those kinds of situations where people sort of project a huge number of things onto me that they pull out of the clear blue sky or the deep darkest depths of their fetid assholes, and just kind of like just sort of share those things with each other as though they are facts. With like just insane, complete bullshit. And just sort of casually will throw that around. Like, I filter my social media a lot, because what started to happen even like quite a long time ago is I started to see indirect mentions of myself here and there, right? Like, I started to see people talking about me. And that's not a bad thing. Like, people are allowed to talk about me. I'm not trying to police that. But I started to see that. And if you have a mental health situation that's not like 100% on top already, if you have some social phobias, maybe, if you have some anxiety disorder kicking around in your brain case, that's really bad for you. Seeing people talk about you, like, even if it's positive, like, even if they're saying nice things, that's not good for your brain. Like, that's actually very bad for your brain. You don't want to sit around like if people are fawning over you, like saying nice things, like giving you compliments and saying, oh, his videos are so great, like, I really love the thing that he does, or whatever. That stuff is also toxic for your brain, which, again, unexpected outcome. You wouldn't think so, but no, actually, that is bad. At least for my brain, my particular configuration, it is not a good thing, and I should not, I shouldn't look at that, because it, like, the thrill of that, the dopamine rush, the sort of joy, and like, that's very, very addictive very, very quickly. Like, you very quickly start to seek that out. Like, you very quickly start to feel the urge to Google yourself, or like search for your own name on Twitter so you can see what people are saying about you. And like, because you're looking for that high. And no, bad. Because when you are, like, once you get hooked a little bit on that high, the low you get from finding someone who's talking shit about you, that also hits you a lot harder. And it's like, it is bad for you. Like my recommendation is, like, I mean, people with other mental health situations might be able to handle it better than me, but no, I don't handle that well at all. So I cut myself off from a lot of that, because, yeah, very toxic, very bad. So, yeah. Shifu Dashomao, what would your pet of choice be if rats were not a possibility? Cats. I am allergic to them rather badly, and they make me sneeze, and they make my eyes water, and I would have to take antihistamines for the rest of my life, but I don't care, because they're adorable, and I love them. Convulse. Would you ever? Yes. Yes, I would ever. If you're asking would ever, yes. So, I hope that answers your question. A long-form video looking at the monster or armor weapon designs in the Monster Hunter series, there might be something to that. Like, I am not really... I feel like I'd need to do some research into historical armor and weaponry a little bit, like, sort of, like, not that Monster Hunter is in remotely even a little bit historically accurate in any way, but, like, in terms of being able to say something interesting about them. Because, like Final Fantasy, most Monster Hunter armor designs are primarily designed to look cool or weird, or like they're primarily designed to have a big visual pop, right? Like, to be impressive, to be cool, to be striking in some way. And they're not really storytelling designs as much. And my thing is storytelling, and Monster Hunter's armor designs don't do that very much, honestly. So I don't know that there would be that. Like, maybe the character designs of, like, the supporting casts of Monster Hunter are worth looking at. And I would certainly love to talk about the monsters. It's just a matter of, like I said, algorithm shit. I would have to get the algorithm on one of my channels used to the idea that Monster Hunter content is a thing that I'm gonna do. Or if I do a one-off video, I'll have to promote the absolute ever-loving shit out of it to make sure that it doesn't completely crash and, like, tank my statistics. And it's the thing of being a content creator. Like, you have all these considerations that sort of limit you in terms of what you want to do. It's the fantasy is, of course, oh, I can do whatever I want. I can talk about anything I want. No, you can't. Not if you want your numbers to, like, not even grow, just to stay steady. No, you can't. So, yeah. Would I ever? Yes. Will I? If you've watched any of it, what are your thoughts on Berserk in terms of art style and storylines? Thoughts on the new chapters? I've not read any of the new Berserk. I read a bunch of Berserk many years ago, and I don't remember much. I have the book, one of the books, like one of the big leather-bound Dark Horse publication version of it, on my shelf of the very early stuff, and that's the stuff I've reread most recently. And I think, like, Berserk is a series that eventually grows into a really strong sense of brutality and ugliness mixed with, like, profound beauty and an appreciation for beauty. Eventually it gets there. I do think for most of its run, it sort of defaults to just, yeah, gore, yeah, like grit and gore and blood and raw. Like, it sort of defaults to that vibe more. Eventually, it sort of achieves a greater aesthetic complexity, but a lot of Berserk, at least to my memory, is, like, there in terms of its art style. Storylines, not so much of an opinion on. I'd have to reread it to form a really strong storyline on it, storyline opinion. Of course, as I'm recording this, I start to get congested and snotty. Why? Kaito Girl draws. Everyone asking questions, but I just want to know how you doing these days, Sky. All good? Not all good. I'm stressed, because I have a lot of, like I said, I have a lot of obligations and deadlines that I need to deal with. And that is stressful. And I am... Well, no, that's none of your business. I was about to reveal a personal thing, but that's actually not something I want to reveal, so I'm not going to do that. Alley Cat, how's the new apartment? Did you finish setting up everything to your liking and needs? We're getting there. We have a couch now. We have a dining table. We have patio furniture so we can sit outside in the summer. The plant boxes are set up and starting to, like, things are starting to look like. We still need to do a lot of cleaning and tidying. We have a washing machine now, which is wonderful. Holy shit, having a washing machine is game-changing, y'all. I have a new bed. Like, not the one that I moved in with, but a new one that's, like, proper and, like, it can adjust it has a little motor so you can adjust, like, the positioning of your head and shit, which is fantastic. So we're getting there. We still don't have lights in the ceiling, though, because the entire building is concrete, like 100% concrete. And in order to drill into that ceiling, we'd need I don't know what's called in English, slowbore, like a power drill that's strong enough to do that, essentially. And we don't have that, and I'm not 100% sure I want to buy one and use... Like, I'm not 100% sure I want to mess with it myself when we're putting up electrics. So I need to get a hold of an electrician to do it for me, and I just pay him to do it and do it right instead of me fucking it up somehow. So we need to have lights put in the ceilings. We only have lamps on the floors. That's sort of the last big thing we need, and then some curtains also. We have, like, this section of, like, Skovig. What the fuck is that in English? Like an inclined wall, like, that's just all windows that, with, like, a lot of sun comes in, and it's really hard to find curtains that fit, like, a wall of that type that's inclined, because, like, you can't put just, like, sliding drapes on the thing. Like, it's a whole thing. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Eugenie, what's a storytelling character trope that's bad, overused, or cliche, but you still really like most of the time? When the protagonist is getting their ass handed to them, and then they think of the people that they love, and then they get back up anyway, even though it should be impossible, and the villain is like, no, I've destroyed you, and they get back up anyway, and they raise their weapon, and they summon the inner strength to win. Yeah, I like that one a lot. That one's good. Lancer, have you decided to do what to do with the new plant boxes? Are you looking to plant more functional plants like onions, or are you looking to plant flowers? A little bit of both. We're going to get some, I don't know what they're called in English. They probably have a scientific name. Butterfly bushes. Sommerfuglbuske, they're called in Danish. Which, like, bushes that are good for butterflies. Like, they tend to attract them and also be good for bees and stuff. We have some, like little onion bulb things that we can plant that'll produce flowers that'll sort of come back year after year. We'll do that for some of it. Again, what we want to do is create an environment where we don't have to do much to sort of keep it, where it's like fine if weeds are growing there, but which is good for bugs and insects and like natural plant life. Just sort of like lots of nectar, lots of stuff just to attract things. That's the idea. And then my roommate wants to put up a box specifically for herbs and spices, and we might want to plant some potatoes and onions and stuff as well in some of them. We have a lot of these fucking plant boxes, so there's room for everything, basically. But I mostly just like some fucking wildflowers that are just like natural growths, and they can sort of take care of themselves, and maybe I water them if it's dry. But I don't have to deal with them too much. I don't want to do like highly cultivated gardening. Nomad Wolf, other than the legend Glenn Gould, is there another animator or animation company you enjoy looking at their work? What are they called? Hang on, I need to Google this. Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is by the studio that is called... Of course it's not fucking listed anywhere, you fucking assholes. I think it's an Australian studio, if I'm not mistaken. But... Production company, Nickelodeon, Viacom, blah, 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 blah. Well, fuck you, too. I know it's a specific company. I know it's not just Nickelodeon Animation Studio, but Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is produced by a subsidiary studio somewhere. I'm trying to find their name, and Flying Bark Productions. There we go. Fucking hell. All buried all the way down in the production detail. Fuck you. Flying Bark Productions do the animation for Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They also do the animation for Lego Monkey Kid, I believe. I'm gonna see if I can... Yeah, Lego Monkey Kid. And they are fucking spectacular. Like, if you haven't seen those shows, like, I didn't really ever get much into either of them because they're kids shows. Like, they're not for me. But the animation alone, man, holy shit. Holy fucking... Like, no one does Sakuga like Flying Bark Studios does Sakuga. Like, no one. No one does it like they do. No one. Like, you need to see it. You need to see it to believe it. Like, if you're any kind of an animation fan, do it. I think I switched the questions there by accident. Soul Step, how do you feel being ultra super famous? Well, we've already touched on that a little bit, haven't we? I do, like... I will say, like, I often talk about the negative aspects of it. The positive aspect is that it is genuinely, deeply soul-fulfilling that the work that I do is useful to people. Like, not just that people watch my videos and go, oh, nice videos, I love them. Like, not just likes and comments and subscribe or whatever. Like, not just the numbers, but, like, that people will send me messages where they say, like, your work helped me. Like, it helped me look at character design differently. It helped me clarify some of my own ideas. It helped me think differently about storytelling or differently about how to design a character, how to approach the discipline. That is genuinely very emotionally satisfying. Like, very emotionally satisfying. I genuinely adore that. That makes me feel that I'm not just doing silly videos on the internet for audiences of people who just think they're novelties, but that, like, that the ideas and the thoughts and the opinions that I have are being taken seriously and they're having an influence. And, like, whether or not, like, I don't care if people agree with me that much. That's not really my goal, but I do care that people take the opinion, like, not take it seriously as in, oh, hold it in high esteem or whatever, but take it seriously as in, okay, this is a thing that I should, like, deal with, right? Like, I should either examine it. I should examine it and think about it and consider to what extent I agree with it and sort of internalize part of that. Like, that to me is a big deal. Like, to me, that matters to me. Because, like, even if people react against me, like, even people go, no, that's stupid. Like, those opinions are stupid. That's not how you need to do that thing. We can do it differently, and I'll fucking show you, old man. That is cool to me, too. Like, I really like that, too, that if I can spur someone on to run towards themselves and find their own voice. Like, if I can do that, even for a few people, then this won't have been a waste of time, at least. Anyway, favorite Warhammer video game? No. Sorry, you asked for a favorite. Not gonna happen. I have played Chaos Gate Demon Hunters recently, and that's really good. That's a really good little XCOM game. Many Means of Bloodborne coming soon. Yeah, it's another one of the casualties like Elden Ring right now. I was on track with it. Like, I was doing so well. Like, in the late part of the summer, I was doing so much work editing the script and trying to get it ready. Like, I have a friend who does professional layouting for books, and I want to... I mean, it's miserable, but I want to grab a selection of the ones that are sort of... I won't say best written, because that's not really the criteria, but the ones that sort of, like, that I think are most interesting, at least, and pay them to edit those together into, like, a really, really nice PDF, like a really fucking nice one. As much as I can afford to pay them to do it anyway. And, like, publish that and the full compilation of essays in conjunction with the actual video itself, which I also need to put together and write and edit and like... yeah, and I don't know. It's one of those things that, like, it's a really big project, and I can't put everything else on hold for it, even though I feel like maybe that's what I need to do. And that's really frustrating me. I'm gonna finish it. Like, I'm gonna finish it. It's gonna be finished. Some fucking time, it will be finished. I swear to God and all the devils that may hear me. Like, fucking try and stop me. But, the logistics are... yeah. I'll get around to it. Hitmonkey, pineapple on pizza? No, I don't like sweet and savory together like that. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but like sweet and savory with the pizza and the pineapple, and like the acidic sting of pineapple. No, that doesn't work for me. Poison Ivy, what's your current favorite skin line? What's your Dream Champ addition to that skin line? Again, you're asking me for favorites. Yeah, I don't know. What's my favorite? I don't know. I like Arcana. I feel like Spirit Blossom maybe got a little bit weaker with the new ones in some ways. I should make a video about that at some point. Yeah, no, I don't have a good answer for you for that one. That's not really something I've thought about. Seth the Seal, what new songs or bands or artists did you discover this month? I can actually take a look in my Winamp media player, because that's the thing I use. I found Ghost recently, like the band called Ghost, because of TikTok, like because you go down just like Holy Mary, Mariana, like that became a TikTok meme thing, and I was like, okay, that sounds like kind of a cool song. So I looked them up, and I found that, oh shit, they have some really dope shit actually. So I bought a couple of their albums, and I've been listening to that a bunch. Also, Poor Man's Poison, again from TikTok. They're the people who did the like, I am the righteous hand of God. Like, that's them. And I found them through TikTok as well. I got into Kate Bush because of TikTok. Like, TikTok really, like, for all that we talk about, like, haha, Gen Z, whatever, make fun of it, it is very good for discovering new songs and artists and music. Sorry for the snottiness, by the way. It's, I don't know. I sat down and started talking and just got congested. Favorite Final Fantasy? Nope. Sorry. I'm really, like, a lot of these questions are favorite questions, and I don't have a good answer. Favorite character design and personality-wise you've met is Hildebrand, obviously. Hildebrand and his dad and his mom are my favorite in terms of... Not so much because, like, they're probably not going to stay my favorites, just mostly because they're the only ones who have any fucking personality. In Realm Reborn. Like, because Minfilia, no. like none of them do. Alphino, nope. Like there is no personality to any of. They're all just stock archetypes with nothing beyond like their surface traits. In Realm Reborn, and maybe I'll have a different answer when I get into Heavensward and beyond. But until for now, if anyone asks me my favorite anything from Final Fantasy XIV, I really, my honest opinion is that almost nothing in Final Fantasy XIV has struck me enough for me to form a really particular critical opinion about it. It's all very middle of the road, in Realm Reborn at least. Catharos, what's your favorite? Okay, more favorite. I'm sorry, Catharos, I can't answer that question. Because favorite, least favorite, like, they're no such thing. Like, they're all, it depends on how you use them, right? Like, it's, like, the Chosen One trope, for example, can be really shitty and toxic, right? Like, it can be really garbage. It can be really, like, sort of, some people are just born better. It can really play into sort of a conservative, hierarchical kind of thinking where some people are just born to be king, or they're born to be special and perfect and save the world, and everyone should look up to them and just do whatever they say because they were born special, which I hate. And that's a shitty trope. But you can also do the Chosen One in some really good ways, right? Like, there's ways to make someone a Chosen One that aren't so shitty, where, like, it's more a thing of, like, it's not so much that they are a chosen one, but that they choose to become the person who is needed to fulfill a certain prophecy, right? Like, that's another way to do it. And those stories are really fucking cool. Like, so I don't know. There aren't any good or bad tropes as such in that sense. Like, it depends on how you deploy them. There are a few bad tropes here and there, but you know what I mean. Oh, god damn it. Okay, I need to blow my nose. Apologies for the noise. I'm probably not going to edit it out. Okay. Salaman, I have noticed that when people say beans on toast, they refer to the UK variant, so my question is, have you ever tried the Central American one, which uses refried black beans instead of white beans with salsa? No. It sounds delicious. I can't eat that because I can't eat gluten. I'd need to get some gluten-free toast anyway. Sounds better than the UK one. I'll tell you that. Although being better than English food is like a low bar to clear. Tart Draws, what's your favorite piece of video game music and why? I can't give you a favorite, but I can give you a piece that I love very much, which is Fisherman's Horizon from Final Fantasy VIII. Like, it's such a beautiful, peaceful, pleasant little piece of music. And if you've ever heard the Distant Worlds version of it, with a full choir and orchestra, it's just that is the sound of peace to me. I'm really very, very fond of that. Kenji the Snack, really quickly summarized, what are your thoughts on Monster Hunter's design, specifically the felines? How are they so cute and cat-like? They are so cute and cat-like because they manage the particular difficult balancing act of being cats and without being anthropomorphized, which is the same thing that Ghibli managed to do in that movie about the cat prince returning something. They have a parade through the streets. The felines are cats. Like, they are cats. They stand upright, they act like humans, but they are cats. That's why they're cute. Which is a simplistic answer, but that's the truth of it, is that they've managed to stay cats while also being anthropomorphized enough to have recognizably human emotions, and that is fucking adorable. Cheese, now that you've had a chance to experience both the slow and stamina-intensive combat of Dark Souls 1 and 2, and the faster, less intensive combat of ER and Bloodborne, Elden Ring and Bloodborne, what is something you prefer about each system? Which combat do you prefer? Do you have any insights into the difference between these systems? No, like, a lot of people will say that they prefer Bloodborne combat. Like, a lot of people, like, a common thing I've seen is people saying, oh, Bloodborne, like, that's the thing that got me into Souls combat. And I can see why. Like, I can completely see why a lot of people would feel that way. Like, Bloodborne's combat system is definitely excellent. I prefer Dark Souls 1 and 2 over Bloodborne so far, and I prefer Elden Ring over Bloodborne as well. And I think I prefer Dark Souls 1 over Elden Ring 2, just in terms of how it feels. Like, I like the slow, like, where each character is like a battleship, and you have to kind of pick your moment to when you swing your weapon, because otherwise you leave yourself vulnerable for 5 billion years and you die. I like that. Like, that's kind of part of the reason why I tend to play with, like, huge giant swords that I can swing around, like, do a huge bang on someone's head because I find that very satisfying. Bloodborne is not like that. Like, you can get some big chunky, like, hit you with a big smack weapons, but it is much more about, like, you need to, like, do a combo and you dash around like, whoa, 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 left and right, Matrix shit. And that's fun. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I like the big, slow, stodgy combat better. If I had to pick one that's my favorite out of all of them, like, that I prefer, it is actually Dark Souls 2. I don't know if it's better than Elden Ring or Bloodborne, but I like it better. Like, I enjoy how the weapons feel in that game. Which is the sort of thing that gets the most tedious Souls purists in the world to get mad at you for some reason, because they're freaks and weirdos, a lot of them. Crow, what's your personal favorite video or videos that you've ever made? Whew, yeah, it's Boss Designs of Bloodborne. I mean, that's an easy... Like, here I can actually pick a fucking favorite. I can't pick a favorite video, but I can pick a favorite series that I've ever done, and it's Boss Designs of Bloodborne. I am the most proud of anything I've done on my channel. That series. Like, that... It is the best thing I've made so far. Maybe Elden Ring will end up being a better thing, but no, I think Bloodborne is the best one. Also in terms of, like... And not just in terms of like... Also just in terms of the little technical shit that you guys don't get to see so much, like the editing in Boss Designs of Bloodborne. Like, I did some things there that I'm still really proud, like some edits that I still think are really good, that still, when I see them myself, even though I've seen them 100 billion times, even though I made those edits where I see them and I still go, ha, that's good. So yeah, Boss Designs of Bloodborne is the best thing I've ever made. Shiva Sharmao, if you had full creative control of Arcane, who are the first 3 characters you would bring in that we have not seen in the show yet? I wouldn't. Like, if you're talking about, like, bringing new champions into the current, like, the Season 2 that's coming up, if I absolutely had to pick 3, I would pick Seraphine, Camille... Yeah. Well, you said characters, not champions, so Seraphine, Camille... And probably Janna. Yeah, I think I'd have Janna show up as the god of fresh air. Like, not as a major character, but just as a cameo kind of thing. Because Camille slots in really nicely into the sort of psychotic class warfare that's already going on. Seraphine does too. Like, she has that street level sort of like the person who, hoping against all hope, is still like, we can all get along and be friends. Not that I think she would be right or that she would be the hero, but in that perspective, like that particular kind of naivete could be a valuable perspective in the story. But I would not add any of them to Season 3, like to Season 2. Because this is Jinx and Vi's story. And I think it's broadly better if in Season 2 that they stick with the characters that they've set up. Like Vander and Singed might have bigger roles, right? As Warwick, Vander as Warwick might have a role and shit like that. But like, I think it's better that they stick with Echo eventually getting his time powers. I'm reasonably sure that's what the friendship with Heimerdinger is leading up to. Heimerdinger eventually developing his powers, getting closer to what he is as a champion, which is to be a little fighter who uses turrets and inventions and like Hextech grenades and shit to fight with the firelights and sort of try and protect people. Heimerdinger is going to get a badass scene in Season 2 with his fucking turrets and all his inventions, and it's going to rule so hard. Developing the characters that are there already. Maybe because of the Medarda thing, where we know that, like, Mel's mother has an agenda. She's there because she needs Mel's resources to help her save the family back in Noxus, which means Noxus has an interest in Piltover, which means Noxus is gonna be representing, again, like, the political corruption thing that Jace has to struggle with, of, like, how much are you gonna sell out the city and its freedom and its principles in order to get things done? Right? In the same way that he does in Season 1, where he like leans into the corruption, he sort of accepts that, okay, some corruption has to happen in order for anything to get done in this fucking city. Fine, we're gonna play that game. Noxus is gonna represent an escalation of that, where it's like, no, you don't just have to sign little deals where, like, the counselors can sell their wares or get favorable trade deals. Like, here we're dealing with, if you don't give us what we want, we're gonna invade and fucking kill you. right? Like, Noxus is going to come along with those ultimatums and, like, really force Jace to nation build. And Noxus is also going to be the outside force against which Piltover and Zaun have to unite in order to resist it. And, like, for that, Darius could show up. For that, Swain could show up. For that, Katarina or Talon or, like, any of the Dokuto assassins could show up. Vladimir could show up. That would be very funny. But like, mostly, I wouldn't add any more characters than absolutely necessary. Arcane Season 1 was already fucking stuffed to the gill with too much story, and it didn't have enough time to tell it all. I wouldn't shove anything more in there. Siren, from an outsider's perspective, what's your hot take 30-second analysis of Warhammer 40k's aesthetics? Warhammer 40k is a satire that has forgotten that it is a satire. That would be my very brief hot take on Warhammer 40. Like, it's a lot of Games Workshop probably remembers that it's meant to be a sort of, like, dystopian horror satire of Thatcherite Britain. Like, that's sort of like, it came out of Thatcherite Britain as a sort of satire of that hyper-fascist, psychotic cult of personality bullshit, right? Like, that's the god emperor of mankind is Thatcher. Like, to a certain extent, there's a lineage there, and 40k has kind of forgotten that it's supposed to be a parody. It has forgotten that it's supposed to be a satire. I mean, in terms of its aesthetics, like, in terms of how seriously it takes itself, it takes its aesthetics very, very seriously indeed, even though they are patently ridiculous. And it should maybe remember that it's supposed to be funny a little bit more. Wired, what are your hot takes on art? That you just asked me, what are your opinions on things? That's a very broad question that I cannot possibly answer. What got you into wanting to create... Okay, I can answer that one. What got you into wanting to create your own comic as an artist before doing YouTube? And we've already sort of touched on that. Valhalla is one of, like, the major inspirations for my love of sequential art, and also, like, Dragon Ball and One Piece. Like, I was fucking alive when One Piece started. That's how old I am. Like, I was there from the very start, the very beginning of One Piece. At least when it started coming out over here. It took a few years of popularity in Japan before we ported it over. But, like, One Piece, Dragon Ball, Valhalla, like, a lot of the French and Belgian bande dessinée, like, their comics. Also, even Dutch comics, actually. Gamelpot, what the fuck is he called? I don't know what he's called in English, but, like, Asterix and Obelix, Spirou, and, like, Francois comics, Gaston Lagaffe, like, all of those are big inspirations for me to doing comics. Like, and that's, like, a lot of what made me study things like character design and animation and art. Like, that sort of all comes from there. Anyway, Isa, do you like chocolate? Yes, dark chocolate. The darker, the better. I want it bitter as fuck and a lot of sweetness. And what type of genre of literature do you enjoy? I want to broaden my horizons more, but I do mostly read fantasy. Like, that's the main thing where I see a cool fantasy thing and I go, oh, I want that. Whereas I have to work a little bit harder to get myself into sci-fi or, like, contemporary literature. I'm trying to read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, because I've heard a lot of good stuff about it, and that's, like, more of a sort of, like, contemporary drama thing, which I'm not usually much for it. I'm also not much for crime fiction, like detective novels and shit. They have to be really good ones. Hitmonkey, what are your thoughts on such AI image generators as DALL-E, Crayon, and Midjourney? Or is this... It is a can of worms questions, Hitmonkey. It absolutely is, but I can give you an answer nonetheless. Fuck them. Fuck them and fuck the people who made them. Is, like, my hot take. My nuanced answer is a lot longer and more complicated, but basically, it's a matter of what the technology is meant to do. And what it is going to actually achieve when it is deployed, right? Because oh, hang on. I accidentally switched the question. The technology itself is not evil, right? Like, it's not evil to do that kind of generative AI. It's not actually AI, it's machine learning. Machine learning remixing of like things and like to create these image generators. There's nothing wrong with that as such, but what this technology is meant to do is it is meant to devalue the labor of art. It's meant to devalue the labor of design. It's meant to devalue the labor that I love, and the entire profession and the industry that I love. It's meant to remove those jobs, automate them out of existence. And because we live under capitalism, the people who are going to get automated out of existence by these systems are going to be fucked. Right? Like, they're not going to get to retire. Like, that's the thing of, like, technological advancement means that the productivity of every individual person on the planet Earth has increased exponentially year over year for the past 200 years. We have, like, each individual person now can create so much more value than any human being on Earth could ever possibly have imagined that they would be capable of doing 200 years ago. And yet, we don't work less. We produce more and more and more and more and more and more and more, but we do not work less. In fact, we're working more and more and more. Like, there's less and less separation between work life and private life. There's more and more, like, demands of loyalty to the job, more and more demands of loyalty to labor, like loyalty to working, to be constantly employed, as long as humanly, physically possible, to be employed and to be productive all the time, forever. That's not what was supposed to fucking happen. What was supposed to happen was that we automated so many things, we got rid of so much mandatory, necessary labor that's necessary for maintaining human life so that we could work less. But capitalism took that away from us. Capitalism said, no, but what if, like, instead of working to preserve human life and working to produce food and working to make things that make life better for people, what if we just, like, forced you to work or else we kill you? By throwing you out on the street in the middle of winter with no heat and no food, and then you die of starvation. What if we just threatened your life forever, for all time, for all eternity, unless you keep producing shit for us? We don't care what kind of shit it is. Like, I don't know, doesn't matter. Just consumerism bullshit. Like, just fucking whatever. Like, little plastic garbage shit that exists exclusively to be given out at corporate events for some new concept car that's never going to be launched, and then go in the trash and then go in the ocean and then kill a bunch of fish. Why don't you spend your entire life just making shit like that, or else we kill you? Capitalism bad is what I'm trying to get at. Capitalism robbed us of that. And so, yes, on the one hand, good that we have these image generators are going to be great in terms of generating art that makes a lot of things more accessible to more people. Like, with this, one person can take on much bigger creative jobs because instead of having to create every single visual asset themselves, they can generate a lot of that shit with like machine learning algorithms. That's good, but that's not what it's going to be used for. It's not going to be used to empower the individual. It's not going to be used to help anyone be more creative. It's going to be used to put a bunch of people fucking out on the street and kill them. Like, it's going to be used to attempt murder. Like, murder by neglect, but murder nonetheless. It's going to be attempting to kill a bunch of people and take away their dreams and their passion and the things that they wanted to do with their life and rob them of the opportunity to do that because it makes someone's fucking number go up on a balance sheet somewhere. Because a line goes up somewhere and some executive can jerk himself off with another wad of $1,000 bills or whatever. Like, that's what this is. That's what it's going to do. That's what it's going to be used for. That's why it is being developed. That is what it is explicitly for. So fuck them. Fuck all of them. The Luddites were right. That's the thing we've forgotten. The Luddites, okay, Luddites. In the 19th century, textile manufacturing became automated, right? Like, we developed machines that could automate the production of textiles. That used to be a really labor-intensive, very high-skilled job where, like, someone who really knows what the fuck they're doing has to weave thread into fabric in order to create clothes, right? So you had this class of people, weavers and textile workers, whose entire lives had revolved around learning the difficult craft of creating these fucking textiles. And then the factory owners got their hands on machines that could do it for them, and they just said, okay, well, fuck you. Fuck you. Go die somewhere in a ditch. We don't give a shit. We have machines that can do your job now. And that led to the rise of a social movement called the Luddites, who went around to factories and said, no, fuck you, actually. And they destroyed the machines. And they threw bricks through people's windows, and they protested, and they kicked up a hell of a fuss because they correctly saw that this technology was not being developed to give them easier lives. This technology was not being developed to make sure that they could work less and have more leisure time or spend time with their family or like do literally anything else. It was created to kill them, to kill their craft, to kill their trade, to kill their traditions, to kill their culture, and to kill them as a class of people, to force them to transition into becoming some other kind of laborer who gets paid less. The Luddites were right. That is exactly what fucking happened to them. And nowadays, we talk about the Luddites like they're a fucking joke, right? Like, oh, these fucking stupid caveman moron people going around smashing machines. Like, oh, how could you be so hostile to the future, to the progress of science, to the progress of society? Well, because the machines were fucking killing them, is why. The machines were created to destroy them. Yeah, they fought back. Like, no fucking wonder. The Luddites were right. And fuck this AI image generator. Like, abolish capitalism. Do that first, and then we can have AI image generator tools and toys for people to play around with. Until then, they can go get fucked. And also, all of the data sets that these machine learning algorithms are created from are made of stolen artwork, used without anyone's permission. Just stolen off of Google Images, stolen off of people's ArtStation portfolios, and several artists have already successfully managed to fully identify what artworks the algorithm has been trained on, what it uses, and what it replicates. Like, they are plagiarism machines, essentially. So fuck them forever, fuck the people who came up with them, fuck the people who are going to use them to put people out of their work. And yeah, fuck everything, and capitalism is bad, actually. That was a longer answer than I had planned, but no, yeah, can of worms indeed. Lark, would you ever consider showing some of your character designs for D&D and explaining how you concept from the beginning? I don't think it would be very useful to you because, like, I don't approach character design the way that I think, like, Riot should do it. I don't approach character design myself the way that I think it should be done in terms of craft so much. Like, when I make a character for, like, a D&D game, I just want this thing to please me. Like, I just want this thing to be cool and fun for me. So, like, if I want to make the sluttiest big titty goth girl in fishnets in the world, like this, the cringiest, horniest, dumb fucking bullshit. If it's my OC, I'm just gonna fucking do it. I don't care. Like, not that I'm exempt from criticism for doing that, but like, if it's my OC for my own personal consumption or a D&D game that I'm playing with some friends, I will do whatever the fuck I want, and I don't care if it's good. Like, it's good if I am happy with it, right? That's the criteria. So that, I don't think that's particularly, because just be fucking self-indulgent. Just make the character that makes you happy, no matter how tropey or stereotypical or problematic. Like, maybe some limits to how problematic it should be, but you know what I mean, right? Like, don't think about your character the same way that you would think about a character created by $1 billion corporation, because not the same. You are a human being, you're a person, you have the right to hedonism. Number 2, if you could remove a popular skin line from League, which one and why? Project, probably, just because I'm tired of it. Maybe Pulsefire, because it sucks. Like, the only good thing about Pulsefire is that Echo and Ezreal are banging. That's my hot take. It's the only good thing about it. Piggybacking off of this, is there a thematic niche you think is being severely underrepresented in skin lines at the moment and would love to see them add as a skin line? Superheroes. Like, it is genuinely kind of baffling to me in the age of Marvel and the MCU and like all that shit, that Riot has a line of superhero skins in the game, but they are all garbage. Like, except like maybe like there's a Singed skin that is literally just Bane. Like, it's not even, it is just Bane from Batman, and I don't know how they haven't gotten sued over it already, which is probably why they don't do it. But the fact that there aren't more skins trying to do superhero aesthetics, like trying to do superhero versions of the characters, and like trying to do them well, rather than superhero Jace, which is a pile of garbage, it baffles my mind a little bit that they haven't done that. Like, I guess they have data that suggests it wouldn't be popular, but like, how the fuck aren't there more, like, aren't there actually attempts to create proper superhero skin lines? I don't get it. Rosenite, how are you today? Tired, but otherwise good. Andregville? I don't know. Would you ever consider doing... Yes. Would I ever? The answer is yes, I would. Will I? Yeah. And you're asking about Apex Legends or Valorant. Valorant is more likely because it's Riot connected. Like, the algorithm shit, you know? The algorithm already considers my channel a channel that is in part about Riot things, and so Valorant stuff will translate more easily to my audience. So, like, I might do some more stuff about Valorant, especially if they keep releasing those fucking amazing storyline cinematics. I might. And Apex Legends, I've been thinking about, like, I know people who work on that game, like, and I really do like a lot of what they do with their character design. Like fucking Pathfinder is my little boy, like my little sweet cheese, my pal, my good time boy. I love him so much. He is so good. Everything about him is excellent. But the times that I have talked about Apex Legends character design on my channel, like, I can see the numbers and they're not great. They don't, the number no be good, number bad, like, because I rail against capitalism, but I have to exist under its logic, and I have to apply its logic to my channel analytics, and Apex Legends, I would have to take a bunch of time to train the algorithm to see that as part of my channel's content, and that's an investment of time and effort, and I'm already having trouble keeping up with Elden Ring and Bloodborne, and, like, so there isn't room. If you could design a new legend for League, what would they look like, and what would their backstory be? I would reserve that for a video, and also that's you've just asked a question that will take me like 6 or 7 hours to fully go through. So sorry, I can't answer that here. Favorite book series of all time? Oh, Discworld. That's another one where I do have a clear favorite. Discworld. Like, it's not a series without its problems and flaws, but I love Discworld so much. Desperately so much. Yeah. Koalada, I've seen some fan art of your redesign videos with cosplay also. Yes, fucking hell, yes. And you will you will tag me on Twitter. You will email me. I don't care. I don't care how you get it. Pictures. I want pictures. I need pictures. I require them. Like, this is not, like, if you want to cosplay it, you are permitted to under the stipulation and the order that you send me pictures. I need to see it. Yes, absolutely yes. Leviathan, if you got to eat one canon devil fruit from One Piece, which one would you pick? Can't say none. Shit, I don't know. Probably Enels. Like the lightning fruit. I think that would be cool. Like, I think that would be neat. I mean, on the other hand, I don't know, like, maybe that would make it impossible for me to interact with technology, so maybe not. But like one of the elementals, I think would be cool. Asus fruit. Like, I'd probably burn down a house or two before I learn to control it, but one of the elementals, like any fruit that will let me fly, I yeah, absolutely would eat one of those. Malthanis, from a narrative standpoint, do you find any one character in League worse off for having been made a playable champion? Yone. Like, Yone. Like, at least the way that they did it. Because what they did with Yone was they took him, this character whose whole point is that his connection with Yasuo, and then they said, fuck that, and disconnected him from Yasuo. Like, nothing in Yone's story, nothing in what he's about, what his story is about, where he's going, what he's doing, relates to Yasuo in any way. And I don't mean in necessarily in terms of, like, oh, he needs to hunt Yasuo to the end of the earth, or whatever. But even thematically, it doesn't relate. Like, Yasuo has this whole thing about finding, like, his whole thing is, like, finding forgiveness for what he's done, and how difficult it is to ever be able to forgive him for what happened. And then his brother is now alive again. And they didn't do anything with that, with Yasuo, like, in the Ruined King game, after he has learned that his brother is not actually dead anymore, like, in any real sense, he still has to have a whole thing of, like, oh no, my brother, I need to fight your ghost because I'm guilty about killing you, because they can't fucking move him on from that. And Yone, they just give him this story of, like, yeah, I guess you were Yasuo's brother or whatever, but, demons.
You have to hunt them because of you're wearing a mask, and you need to find out like why is the mask on your face. You don't know, so you need to hunt the demons now, and therefore you don't give a shit about Yasuo anymore or that storyline, and you're fine. Like you just like forgive him or whatever. I don't know, and you just go do your own thing and fuck Yasuo. He can fuck off to Bilgewater, and we don't like that. That still eats me up inside as a character decision. That they just kind of took Yone and Yasuo, whose stories are like... And they just said, let's just put a big fucking wall right between these two characters. Just a big fucking wall that they can't cross, and fuck them. They don't get to interact. They don't get to have like any resolution or any progress in their emotional states. We just give them a cinematic where they have a cool fight with a demon one time, and then Yasuo is like, "Oh, my brother has forgiven me, except I'm not forgiven. I'm still tortured." Ah! And then he fucks off to Bilgewater, and then Yone is like, "Well, I have that dealt with," dusts off his hands, and then walks off to, I guess, fight demons now. Yeah, no, that sucked. Like, they should not have made Yone a playable champion if that's what they were going to do with him. Narratively, he's so much worse off. He's so much less interesting. Terrible. Awful. Absolutely awful. Yeah. Plague Amon. How many more champions do you think Arcane could afford to introduce to its story without making the story worse? On that note, are there any Piltover and so on champions you think definitely should or shouldn't be appear in this year? I've already talked about this. And like I said, like I wouldn't introduce any more champions than absolutely necessary. Like maybe a cameo, but no more champion stories, because champions are big personalities. They come with a lot of baggage, and like I wouldn't, because there's too much to deal with in Arcane already. In the new season after that, like season 3, which is definitely going to be happening, when they switch to some other character storyline, well, I've made a whole video about what I think about that. Kenji the Snack again. Do you ever think again, would you ever? Yes. Will I? Nah. But you're talking about, like, whether I do animation on Guilty Gear and, like, fighting games. Again, my channel isn't about that, and I'd have to condition the algorithm. Like, it's one of those things, like, either I do it as a one-off, and I just know that it's going to do terribly, and, like, it's, like, or rather, that's a huge risk that it's going to do terribly, and it's not going to bring in a bunch of new subscribers, because they're going to look at that one video that they saw, like, oh, cool, fighting game animation breakdowns, that's cool, and then they look at the rest of my content and like, this is all League of Legends shit, what the fuck, and then they're not going to subscribe. So either it's a one-off thing that's not going to grow my channel, that's going to be kind of a loss, or I have to commit to doing a whole fucking bunch of this shit, so that, like, making it a regular part of my content. And it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's stuff that I wouldn't mind talking about. It's just, again, I have Elden Ring, you know, there isn't room. RC Scooter, are there any kind of birds that you're a big fan of? Yeah, I really, really like corvids, which is not the most original answer in the world, but like crows, ravens, magpies, I like them a lot. They're cool. Hitmonkey. Do you have an interest in doing character analysis series of... Oh, right. Well, hey, that was the last one. Did we circle back around? Hey, we did it in like an hour. Okay, there's like many... There were many questions. I was worried that this was going to take longer than it did, but I only went off on a vaguely unrelated rant 5 or 12 times. So this was a success in terms of how much time it took. Thank you very much to the people who asked the questions. Thank you for supporting me on Patreon, or donating one time on Coffee, or memberships on this channel or the Shorts channel. Like, literally, I think I have made it so that if you give me money in any way, and if your Patreon, if your, like, Discord account is hooked up to it, like, if it's hooked up to YouTube, or to Coffee, or to Patreon, or whatever, you get access to the Discord, and you can ask me questions for this thing. So thank you to all of the people who did that, and who support me, because, again, like I talked about the positive parts of being a content creator, and you are the ones who pay for that to happen, both with your money and with your attention, for which I am genuinely grateful. Like I know I always worry that I bitch too much, like that I bitch too much about all the stressful parts of it. And that's partly that's because I don't want to sit around like sort of like flaunting, bragging. You know, it's like, oh my god, this is so cool. Everything I do is so awesome. My life is so cool now. Like, it's amazing that I get to do this for a living, because it is amazing that I get to do this shit for a living. But I've always found it tacky when I see YouTubers doing the bragging thing about like, oh, like things are so cool. Like, I mean, when I saw YouTubers I liked doing that, like, first of all, I stopped liking them pretty quickly, and also it kind of made me depressed, really, just to kind of see that. And I didn't find it very appealing, so I just don't want to do it very much. And like, I also don't really like the whole getting weepy and like, oh my god, you guys should support me so much on my character content creation journey, and like my whole journey with you guys, and you're coming along with me on the journey, you're like my family. Like, I never want to do that shit, because that's when you open the door to those really toxic parasocial relationships, which do not want. So yeah, I worry that I don't say that I'm grateful enough, because I really am, but it's also one of those things that feels so obvious to me. Like, yeah, of course I am. Like, have you seen what I get to do for, like, holy shit, of course I'm grateful. Like, who wouldn't be grateful to be able to do this for a living? Like, it comes with problems and downsides, and I have to deal with the algorithm, and there's so much business bullshit, and filing taxes is more difficult than it should be, because like, how do you even count these things as income? And like, yes, it comes with downsides, but I am very lucky, and I'm very grateful for it. I am genuinely very grateful that I get to do this. And it is because, like, not just the Patreon support, it's because you reward me for my effort with your attention. And that attention is then monetized by YouTube with advertising. But it is because you bother to pay attention. That is a gift, and I hope it is worth paying attention to. So yeah, you want to ask a question, like, you can literally just do a $1 donation one time on Ko-fi, and you'll get into the Discord, and you can ask questions for the rest of eternity if you want to. Or you can support the Patreon, or memberships, or do whatever, or none of it. It's fine. Like, you really don't have to. Thank you for watching. Thank you for paying attention to me for an hour and 17 minutes with a snotty, congested nose and strong opinions about the Luddites. And I'll try and do another one of these next month. I should be able to. Yeah, I should be able to. Have a good one.